You've done your planning, you've done your research, and now you're ready to make a move. Whether you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate in Bellingham or the surrounding areas, today I'm going to break down 5 must-know things about the home inspection process that could just save you tens of thousands of dollars. So stick around to the end, sharing all the tips, tricks, and must-knows about the home inspection process. Okay, we are on location with my inspector, Rodger Althage at RCA Home Inspections today. Say hey, Rodger.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Okay, so what is a home inspection? So a home inspection starts with a licensed inspector, right? So sometimes I'll get the clients that say, hey, my friend's buddy is in the trades, or my dad or my relative, somebody's in the trades, they can do my home inspection. Now, have they been trained to do a home inspection and all of the nuances that an inspector is supposed to be looking at? Kind of like, you can do your own dental work, but why would you, right? You want to go to that dentist, that expert that knows exactly what they're looking at and what to do next. So an inspection starts with a licensed inspector. When do you do an inspection? Sometimes we'll hear the term a pre-inspection or an actual inspection. So like today, I'm in a home right now that clients of mine, we made an offer and it was accepted. So we're under contract. Part of our offer was that once we go under contract, we have the ability to go do a home inspection. That's where we hired our friend here, Rodger Althage at RCA Home Inspection, to come help inspect. What Rodger's looking at is everything from the roof to all the mechanicals inside, all the components, and then foundation, basement, everything that we're not going to see just on a regular home tour or a home visit. We don't have the time to do that when we're actually looking at a home saying, oh my gosh, this is where my family's going to live, where we're going to have all these holiday events, where we're going to raise our kids, and all of that is happening. We're not looking at all the mechanicals, all the electrical, the plumbing, all the water heater, the furnace. So the term pre-inspection also gets used sometime. Typically, a pre-inspection means it's a regular home inspection, but the term pre means before we're under contract. Now, a pre-inspection can be performed by whether it's a seller saying, I want to do a pre-inspection and then make it available to buyers, or a pre-inspection can be, I'm a buyer and it's a really competitive deal. I want to get in and make sure I understand that my offer, I'm completely fine with the condition that the property's in. So a pre-inspection just means it's before the actual inspection. What's the cost and the length of a home inspection? Typically, if you're in a smaller house or a condo, it can be pretty short, maybe an hour. Average home inspection, I'd say probably 2 to 3 hours, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. If there's a bunch of like cumbersome attic space or really tight crawl space to get through, or probably somewhere 2 to 3 hours. The cost of an inspection also can vary. If it's a really short inspection, or if there's a lot of things an inspector's looking at, I would say probably $500 to $600, kind of the going rate. If it's a little bit smaller or a condo, maybe a little bit less. If it's a really big property, like 10,000 square feet and 90 rooms, probably going to be a little bit more. Who attends the inspection? Typically, I'm finding that the party that purchases the inspection or orders it is typically there. So if it's a seller doing a pre-inspection, the seller's probably there. Oftentimes their agent is there. And then if it's a buyer ordering it during the course of a transaction, like, hey, we got an offer accepted, we're doing an inspection, typically the buyer's going to be there. Like today, I have my buyer client showing up towards the end of inspection. So what are inspectors looking for? Let's listen to what Rodger has to say about what inspectors are looking for. In terms of a home inspection, Rodger, what are you looking for at a home inspection when you're performing one?
I test all the systems, that being roof, siding, electrical, gas, water, foundation. And I look for failures. We are not code inspectors because houses were built by codes when they were built. Mm-hmm. So we look for, are things working? Are there problems? And what clients want to know is it a big deal or is it a small deal? That's really the questions they ask me.
And what Rodger's going to do is look at all of these systems, basically from the roof all the way down to the, basement or,
yes,
or crawl space, what have you, all the plumbing, electrical, HVAC, appliances.
Attic, if there is one.
Exactly. All the things that we're not necessarily going to see when we're walking through and touring homes. So then we're going to use that inspection report to understand what we're looking to purchase. And then sometimes there's going to be negotiations after it. Sometimes we're going to just ask more questions of the seller. Now, what are some red flags, Rodger, that you see on home inspections?
I see roofs that aren't vented properly. That's one big thing.
And what happens if a roof isn't vented properly?
Then you get microbial growth. We don't call it mold. Because then people say, what kind of molds that kill old people, young people? There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of kind of mold. But it's microbial growth. It's moisture in the air that is not moving through. And primarily where I see that in new homes or newer homes that have been redone is with hip roofs that have ridge vents, because the ridge doesn't go all the way to the gables. It's only 2/3 of the way. So you've got all the soffit vents bringing air in and nowhere to let it out.
So certain types of roof might be more prone to this. So that's one
Absolutely.
issue that you see. What are some other common issues that you see?
I see insulation that is blocking the soffit vents so it doesn't let the air in. And I also see ducting from bathroom vents that is not connected to the can, so the warm, moist air goes into the attic instead of out through the roof. Very common,
Okay.
even in new homes, because the insulators will go in and kick it down, and it's a Friday afternoon. Very important thing to look at, because a few months of that is no big deal. 10 years of that is a science project.
So what I'm hearing is moisture is kind of an issue that you see a lot of.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other red flags that you're typically looking out for or seeing in our climate up here in and around Bellingham?
Well, crawl spaces is really where we earn our money because people don't go in them. And they used to be a lot nastier than they are now because now we all have to go in them. Years ago we didn't. Some guys did, some guys didn't. But we go in them and we want to make sure that the vapor barrier's down, insulation is up, and there's venting. And there's all kinds of combinations that can cause problems with that. I've seen houses that had little creeks running through them. And if they're fixed properly, if that moisture barrier's up and the creek stays down here in the moisture, it's okay. But that adds problems because that moist air, the stack effect always brings air up in a house. It goes from the crawl space through the house, through the attic, and out. And so you end up with those odors and that bad air that's coming from the funky crawl space.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rodger, thank you so much. We are on location right now doing an inspection, so I'm going to let you get back to work. Maybe put a little bit more information and education together for our friends. Thank you. Rodger just covered some red flags that can come up on inspection. There are other things that are maybe common fixes. Outlet covers might have a crack in it. Is that a structural thing or going to cause, a big issue to the house? Probably not. Something pretty easy to fix. Or I'm actually looking over in the corner over here. There's a, forced air vent on the ground that's kind of like dent and kind of bent. Now, is that a big issue? No, it's not a huge issue. I mean, that's something that the vent still works. It just might not look as appealing as maybe a brand new vent cover. So small things like that an inspector might note, though it's not a structural or major issue. So we got to keep in mind when we have an inspection, an inspector is going to note and make comments about everything that they've observed about the property. And then you have to kind of figure out, is it a big thing or a small thing? So 3 things buyers should know about a home inspection. Number 1, you should always get one, is my recommendation, especially on new construction. Now, on new construction, you might think, hey, it's a new construction house. It was just built. Why would there be anything wrong? The reality is that builders are hiring a bunch of subcontractors to come through and do the plumbing, do the electrical, do the flooring, do the cabinets. And those are all different businesses that are going to come in and do what they're going to do under the builder's guidance and direction. So maybe a joint wasn't done correctly or a seam wasn't connected properly. There are issues that can happen on new inspection because nobody's lived in the house and you don't know. New inspection is even more important to get a home inspection. Number 2, we should use the inspection to ask questions, especially when the inspector is putting things down there. Like Rodger or a lot of inspectors will say, hey, this is the current code today, though when the house was built, this was par for the course or this was normal. Kind of think turn of the century homes, a lot older homes, or maybe mid-century. Great example is the electrical system around water sources. It wasn't code. It might not have been code when the house was built to have like a GFCI switch right next to a faucet, whether it's like the kitchen or bathroom. And then code today says we should have it. Inspectors are going to note that. Is it something, though, that a seller is going to fix? Well, if it's been that way the entire time the house was built, there's never been any issues. I tend to find sellers are less likely to negotiate. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So things like that are good to know. Number 3, with my buyer clients, I want to understand, is there any deal breakers here? Is there something red flag that came up on inspection that you're like, there's no way I want to move forward unless this item is fixed? Because there are items that are just general maintenance items that clients say, hey, it'd be nice to have these things fixed, but maybe it's not a deal breaker. So I'd like to understand that so then we can negotiate appropriately with the seller. Now, 3 things a seller should know about a home inspection. 1, consider a pre-inspection. When as a seller, you've taken care of your property, you know that home ownership comes along with kind of maintaining it. If you haven't maintained the property, as a buyer, you're coming in and you don't know what things are going to cost. Buyers have a tendency to maybe over-exaggerate or inflate in their mind how big an issue potentially could be. So as a seller, let's consider do a pre-inspection. And number two, consider fixing the obvious issues. If there's a cracked electrical panel cover, if there's some caulking missing and there's no other damage around it, replace the caulking, replace the broken little vent cover, maybe do some paint and some touch-ups here and there. If you've had pets go through and they've kind of chewed up some of the trim around the house, consider fixing that or replacing it entirely. Number three, be transparent. If you're a seller and you do a pre-inspection, note all the repairs that you've done. Provide copies of invoices and receipts of any repairs just to be transparent with the buyer to demonstrate you've actually been thoughtful about this and taken the time and the care to prepare your home for the new owner. So why do we even care about home inspections, right? So it's my belief that home inspections protect everybody through the transaction. I think everybody has a right, if you're buying a property, to have a home inspection. Sometimes, as a buyer, you're going to get it from a seller, and I still caution, review it. Make sure that you're asking questions, even though you didn't hire the inspector, though it protects everybody in the transaction. Understanding the process. This is really critically important here, guys. Understanding the process gives you leverage. Whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, or investing in real estate, understanding how it works, who provided the inspection, who the inspector was, asking questions, gives you leverage throughout the process. Hey, if you guys have enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and consider sharing it to a friend that's thinking about making a move or looking at what their real estate plans are. If you are considering a move and would like to kind of strategize and figure out what that actually looks like, reach out. Love to schedule a one-on-one consultation. Shoot me a call, text, email, or take a look down below to a link to schedule something on my calendar. Thanks so much. Talk soon.